there's more to Adelaide than meets the eye. And I just decided to peel back the layers to discover what Adelaide is doing and what's happening here. And I discovered something really, really exciting. This is a city in transformation.
Yeah.
I got excited about that. I could feel a buzz in the air, but also women doing amazing things. And that really brings me to why I was so excited to be here. The women in South Australia, the innovators, the female founders, the entrepreneurs, the one lady bands doing their own business. They're really heroes of South Australia, doing absolutely amazing things. I salute them.
Welcome to The Glass Ceiling, the podcast where business leaders share their stories, struggles and triumphs.
There is a lot in that. There's a lot of learning.
We sort of had different views on how the business should be ran.
The next 10 years looks like for South Australia.
Startup's the easiest. I'm your host, Marissa Hankinson from Wavebreaker, and I'm passionate about amplifying their voices. Join me as we explore the highs and lows of innovation, entrepreneurship and leadership. From founders to CEOs, our guests will share their insights, experiences and advice on how to succeed and make a lasting impact. Get ready for inspiring conversations and valuable lessons. Let's shatter the glass ceiling, one story at a time.
Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Look no further than Next Workspace. Located on level 15, 45 Pirie Street, our incredible facilities offer everything you need to thrive, from comfortable workspaces to cutting-edge technology and amenities. Plus, our collaborative community will help you connect with like-minded professionals, share ideas and learn from each other's experiences. With flexible workspaces, meeting rooms and event spaces, you'll have everything you need to grow your business. And with our supportive community, you'll never be far from inspiration, motivation or a helping hand. At Next Workspace, we're more than just an office, we're a community for innovation and creativity. Join us today and watch your business soar. Next Workspace, empowering your success. Visit us at www.nextworkspace.au.
Hello, April. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Glass Ceiling podcast. Let's start at the very beginning. Can you introduce yourself and your business, please?
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. I'm April Hobbs from Media International. I run a marketing consultancy. I also own a publishing business. I champion innovation in Australia, and I'm a master connector.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we've just been talking off camera. So can I ask, how long have you been in Adelaide?
So I've been in Adelaide for 7 years in Australia in total. So it still feels new.
Yeah.
And virtually every month goes by, there's a new experience still. So yes. I'm a POM.
Yes, you're Welsh. My granddad was Welsh. I'm a POM too. So
it's wonderful. Yes. I fiercely defend that because most people accuse me of being a POM, and I actually say that I'm Welsh. I'm a proud Welsh woman.
Yeah. Do you speak Welsh?
Siarad Cymraeg.
Fantastic.
I added a bit of Spanish there because I also speak Spanish.
That's what you can have a chat to Joanna. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing since you came to Adelaide.
Wow. My time in Adelaide, 7 years, has been quite a journey. When I first came here, I had high expectations that hitting the ground running would be quite a simple process for me. But actually, it was quite the opposite. I feel like I've spent a few years in the career wilderness trying to find where I belonged, trying to build networks. But in the end, I've done a lot of different things, which have all led to where I am today. So it's been a really positive journey.
Yeah, but it was a little bit that career wilderness. And I can definitely understand, I'm like Joanna, my business partner, she came from Colombia. I came from the UK. You didn't quite come directly from the UK. Where did you come from?
Oh, I've been a globetrotter. It must be 32, 34 years I've been
We're all
living
calculating
overseas.
your age now, by the way.
Yeah, don't do that. I was in the Middle East before I came to Adelaide. And before that, I had spent a long time in Spain and in Europe, Turkey, various places.
Wow.
And all roads have led to me being in Adelaide. It feels like I was meant to be here.
This is home. This is home.
In fact, I have to say, many years ago when I was in my 20s, a group of girlfriends and I had planned to come to Australia on a holiday. And I chickened out of it. We were going to have like an 8-week backpacker holiday. And at the time, my career was going really well. And I was scared to take 8 weeks off. And my girlfriends went and they never came back. And I've often wondered what happened to those girls.
Because this is, you said 32 years ago you started traveling. So this is before social media.
Absolutely. Mobile phones.
Yes, you can experience lots of things and you're like, how on earth did we manage?
Definitely giving my age away now. But
yes.
Here I am in Australia.
So you mentioned you're a master connector. So I'm really, really intrigued in what does that mean?
Oh, wow. That also is quite a journey in itself. Throughout my career, I have managed to steadfastly avoid networking. And I've always been nervous of going into a room and doing the whole, how do you do? What do you do? And it's funny, when I got into the NDIS sector, my role was partnership development nationally. And I found myself going to lots of events. And I found very comfortable in, being in that environment. I managed to build a network and I found that was the key to everything. Yeah. I joined a BNI as soon as I had the opportunity to. I found my tribe and I've just never stopped connecting.
You've got this phenomenal book on the table and you talked about going into publishing. Where did this come from and where did the idea come from?
Wow, so many journeys actually. Look, so many of my Aussie mates overseas were horrified that I chose to come to Adelaide.
Nothing wrong with Adelaide.
And that narrative, I don't know why we live in the shadow of Melbourne and Sydney, but, they were horrified and I couldn't understand why. And after a very short space of time of being here, I realized they were wrong. Mm. And, a lot of exciting things were happening on North Terrace, specifically at Lot 14. Yeah. And I'm a nosy person. Well, I'm curious. Yeah. And I decided to delve into what was going on there. And I met some incredible people doing amazing things in tech and in space. And I thought there's more to Adelaide than meets the eye. And I just decided to peel back the layers to discover what Adelaide is doing and what's happening here. And I discovered something really, really exciting. This is a city in transformation. Yeah. I got excited about that. I could feel a buzz in the air. And it was when I heard Peter Malinauskas talk about the fact that it's our success stories. Telling those stories is really going to propel South Australia. Yeah. And that really resonated with me. And in fact, I would say that was almost a call to action. I had done some publishing in the Middle East and I took a partnership with Innovations of the World, which is a global publishing house. Yeah. I happened to ask the question quite innocently, why aren't they publishing in Australia? Because they have this successful global brand celebrating innovation. And they said, April, come on, let's do this. If there's innovation happening, this is your time. And I just thought, well, this is actually my purpose. And after being in the career wilderness for a little bit, I actually felt this is actually where I belong. This is what I'm meant to be doing. And then I met a gentleman from the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Yep. And he was telling me a story about this 9-year-old boy that he was going to help. And he wanted to hold the Olympic torch from Athens, no less. And he said for 18 and a half years, Lance said, 18 and a half years of doing Make-A-Wish, I never thought that I would not be able to make this dream come true. But I was really challenged. Where on earth do you find the Olympic torch? I had no idea where to go, he said. And this journey took him several months and he went around the world. And eventually he was told there was a company in Theberton, no less, that makes the Olympic torch. Yes. And I was blown away. And I said, my goodness, they make the Olympic torch in Theberton.
Here in South Australia.
Yes. So I was absolutely gobsmacked. And he said, yeah, isn't it incredible? But I made this dream come true. And I just thought, if they are making the Olympic torch in Theberton, what else do they do here? And that set me on this journey to produce this amazing book.
Yeah. So that's a phenomenal story. Is there any other stories that sort of just like, how many businesses or innovators
there
are featured?
About 150 companies featured. The smallest ecosystem in the world actually produced the biggest book. And I just couldn't stop because of this. It's all about the stories, and people engage with stories. And I just really wanted to curate the stories of what are founders doing, what are their challenges, what are the amazing groundbreaking innovations happening in this city that's really propelling South Australia. And there's just so many. In particular, I met a gentleman called Ravi Mehta from a company called ResearchSat. And they're a space company, they're a satellite company, but they're also in the biotech business. And they manufacture a satellite the size of a Rubik's Cube. And I kid you not, I held it in my hand. This is one of the second or third companies that I met on my journey. This Rubik's Cube size satellite I held in my hand, and it had already done, I think, 2 or 3 missions. They have worked out that zero gravity is the perfect environment to do drug testing, and the next version of antibiotics, the next generation of antibiotics are going to be created in outer space environments by this company, by an Adelaide company. And they're also migrants as well, which cheers me no end, because I think migrants are just doing incredible things. Yeah. But also women doing amazing things. And that really brings me to why I was so excited to be here. The women in South Australia, the innovators, the female founders, the entrepreneurs, the one lady bands doing their own business. They're really heroes of South Australia, doing absolutely amazing things. I salute them. Yeah.
And I've heard that you are expanding Innovate to also showcase other cities. Is that right?
Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to stop now. There's innovation happening everywhere. And the thing about innovation is that it happens on the quiet. Unless you're involved in those ecosystems or in that sector, you don't really know about it. And I just wanted to run out in the street and say, hey, the Olympic torch is made here, and they're making these, CubeSats, and and there's so much going on here. And I think that it's really in the public domain. It should be in the public domain. People should know what's happening. And I think it's just terribly exciting. Yeah. So my next project is in Sydney. I'm really excited about that. It's a much bigger ecosystem, and there's just so much innovation to choose from.
Is there any themes of innovation? Could you go you could go city and then theme and innovation because of all the diversity out there?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, look, honestly, in the beginning, I didn't know if I was going to be one book, but there's certainly appetite, and there's certainly the innovation and entrepreneurship happening here to warrant more books. So I'm lining up Perth and other cities to do. And this really bodes well for those challenger cities that really want to position themselves. And this is not just a book to let people know the exciting things happening here and everywhere else in Australia, but it's really, a book for government agencies to promote the opportunity for investment.
Yeah. And so does Peter Malinowskis has a copy of your book?
He certainly does.
Good. And does he take it when he goes overseas to champion South Australia?
I hope so. It's quite a heavy book, but I'd like to think that he does.
Good. So how do people get in the book? How do they, as you say, sometimes it can be going under the radar and it's quiet. How did you find the stories to get included in the books?
So I had to hunt high and low for those stories. So I do lots of research, making connections, and one connection leads to another.
That's the master connector bit.
Well, thankfully, there are a lot of hubs. There's a lot of innovation hubs, and they're everywhere. And so there are just thriving ecosystems of, technology, AI, machine learning, space, defense, you name it, it's happening. And in Sydney, because it's a bigger city, there's more happening there. I expect the book is going to be different to Adelaide, heavily tech-centric.
Okay.
And probably manufacturing too.
Obviously, you've had experience in publishing, and this was something that you came to in Adelaide. But what kind of business lessons have you learned over the years?
How long have you got?
Yeah. But is there anybody that sort of inspired you?
I take inspiration everywhere. Everybody that I meet and connect with, I learn something. And that's the beauty of networking and building networks. But there are a number of people that personally inspire me. Simone Douglas from Digital Marketing AOK is probably one of the first people that I met in Adelaide on my journey here. And she is a trailblazer in every sense of the word. She's also a master connector in her own right.
Definitely.
She's built several businesses, and she's been very clever about her approach to all things business. All women in tech.
The Innovate is a book that is inspirational. We've just talked about some people that are inspirational to you. But are you on a journey of your own learning? Where do you go for your own learning?
Oh, I certainly am continuing that journey. I'm a lifelong learner, and there's just so much that you will learn, especially in business. I thought I knew it all as an employee in business. And then I went through this crash course. As soon as I became a business owner, it felt different. And it doesn't matter what social media tells you about being an entrepreneur and being a founder, particularly being a female founder. I mean, it paints a different picture. And the reality is that business is hard.
And it's getting harder.
It's getting tougher. The market is very tough. So it presents lots of challenges. It means you have to be really clever and really smart about how you operate. I've really lent into people in my network. One of the things that I learned from Polaris Innovation Center, actually, is that, you can't wear all of the hats all of the time. And at some point, you have to farm things out to specialists. And, one of the things that I learned, even as a marketer, marketing my own business was a super challenge. Right? I never expected that. And so I've lent into, other professionals to help me with things that I've needed to drive the business. Automation has been quite a big tool. But I guess, one of the big things for me in the learning curve is going back to how I felt from being an employee to suddenly being in business. I felt like I was taking things personally. Like I felt I wore my heart on my sleeve a lot, which is something I wouldn't normally do.
But I think it's like because it's you and it's your brand, and you are putting yourself personally out there.
Do you know what? Yes, absolutely. I've never been more visible yet more vulnerable in my life as an adult, and I'm middle-aged, and it took me by surprise. I didn't expect to feel that way, and so every opportunity that you can to really bolster that, either through learning or through empowerment, or through building connections and networks, and really looking back and seeing what you've achieved is actually quite empowering.
Yes. I think looking back on, you talk about a journey, but, being in business can sometimes be lonely. I think, and, I had a little bit of loneliness when I first came because I've been here 12 years, but career wilderness, it can be a really, really lonely place. And you did say at the very beginning that, networking wasn't your thing, but actually you found that you're actually quite good at it, and that you ended up finding your tribe. And sometimes it's not necessarily about always employing people.
Correct.
Or it's more around building the right team around you or the specialists that you need. So from that time, and thank you for very much, I think saying that you're feeling vulnerable is something that is very much a female trait that we say, but sometimes we don't express. So who do you think has been your biggest supporters in business? You mentioned inspiration, but who do you see as being your big supporters?
Oh, look, if I had to thank everybody, I want to thank everybody for supporting me, because I couldn't have got to the point of completing this book and to go on to do other projects if it wasn't for the tribe around me. So, I was inspired to start my own business. I mean, physically start my own business, from my experience in B&I. It is lonely being in business, but I found the confidence because I knew I wouldn't be on my own.
So can I ask, how long did it take from this book being an idea to it actually being produced?
So this journey of mine to produce Innovator Adelaide took about 14 months.
Okay.
And it took longer than I thought, but I realized that it will just take as long as it takes.
Yep. Is there a version 2 of this? Because, 14 months, you've got the book out. You're talking about Sydney and obviously Perth and other areas as well. But as you said, in our state of South Australia, there is so much happening Is there a version 2 coming out?
There will definitely be a version 2. I might take a little while before I get to that. This book captures a moment in time, but it's already changing at quite a fast pace. And I look forward to revisiting that just to see how much has changed and how far we've propelled ourselves as a state.
Yeah, because it is a bit of it's a very changing face. And I don't think we're going to be little old Adelaide for very long.
We are not the city of churches anymore. We are not little old Adelaide.
We are not the festival state either.
No, we are, I believe, we're the 11th.
What is it, the best city in the world or something?
Well, it's the most livable city. We've got over 500 events here happening every year that brings opportunities for visitors to come. Innovation. We've got great universities. We've got all the hallmarks.
And that north, you talked about that North Terrace corridor. That really is becoming a hub of innovation, technology. It
really is. So we have the Centre of Excellence for Space, not in Sydney, not in Melbourne, here in Adelaide. We have the Biotechnology and Health Centres of Excellence here. We have the top gaming ecosystem here in Australasia. There's just so much happening. AI and machine learning is probably the most important centre of excellence in the world, is right here on North Terrace. There's so much. We should be very proud to call Australia, South Australia, our home.
So you have heard lots of stories and interviewed lots of entrepreneurs and inventors and innovators. Has there been a common theme or advice that's been shared that you've seen?
Absolutely. It's a process to take your one idea, your one big idea, to something that you can commercialize. It's a whole journey, and you can't get there on your own. It is about surrounding yourself with the right people. It's about empowering yourself with all the information that you need in the business sense to help you get there. It's about finding a good mentor that will help walk you through all the things that you need to do to get to where you want to be. It's about setting realistic goals. It's about honing your craft, but also honing the communication of your offering. I feel like if you're a founder and you don't know how to talk about your business, you'll fall at the first hurdle. So it's not just about being excited about your idea. It's about communicating, the problem that you're solving. It's about pitching to investors. So communicating your value proposition is vital. But, surrounding yourself with a team of mentors that can really open doors for you and to steer you on the right path to where you need to go.
Fantastic. Now, Innovations of the World, you said, is a global, and you brought it to Australia. So congratulations. So who does Innovations of the World mentor you, or do you have your own mentors?
I have my own mentors. Tim Marburg-Sear from Stone and Chalk is a good friend and mentor.
They're on Lot 14 too?
They are. Yeah. Rick Carter is a friend, and he probably doesn't know it, but he is a mentor and an inspiration. Con Koutsikas, who's a communications coach, is someone who's personally inspired me, and his courses have changed my life in terms of being able to talk confidently.
No, it's interesting that you say that, because sometimes I think it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal mentor-mentee relationship for you to get learning. I think you've just mentioned that with Rick. And I think there's a lot of people in our lives that don't necessarily realise that they have that role. So, but they do. And that might have just been because they're ahead of you in business or in journeys, and they're just sharing their own experiences to benefit you. So if you obviously mentioned some mentors, but do you have any learnings? Is there besides your own book, is there a book that you look on for leadership or for business, or is there a recommendation for our audience that you would make to continue learning or to read, or something that's been impactful?
There are many. The book about hard things is really good. It teaches you to be grounded and humble, teaches you to learn from your mistakes, to be able to measure and evaluate everything that you're doing. So it also tells you to look back frequently, to obviously keep grounded on the journey and what you've achieved. The 4-hour work week, that's great. Work-life balance isn't everything.
Is it
And it's
possible?
something, when you throw yourself with complete passion into something, it's all consuming. I think and it's purely personal for everybody, but I think that you can get nuggets of information out of every book.
Definitely. Employee to boss, what's the difference and how did you overcome it?
The difference is really profound because when you're an employee, you don't realize it at the time, but there's a tremendous sense of comfort. It's a huge comfort zone. You know, you can rely on your salary. It comes in every month. You've got a whole set of KPIs, which they've told you go off and do that. You have your 9 to 5 or whatever you are. You have your routine. It's clearly defined for you, for the most part, by others. That transition to being in business on your own, it's suddenly, you're it. You know, it's down to you whether you get up in the morning. It's down to you, your routine. You know, it's down to you whether you learn from the mistakes that you make, because you're going to make them. So it's that feeling of realizing, it is down to me. And it's really what I make it. It's what we all make of it. But we have a tremendous opportunity, and that's what excites me.
So you're a lifelong learner. What has been the most recent thing that you've learned that has blown your mind?
It's really simple. It's okay to be who I am. I thought half of being in business was about pretending that I'm really good at business. It's okay to make mistakes, and we all do. We're all human. Going back to this whole imposter syndrome, I actually really hate that phrase, but it is this insecurity that gnaws away at you. And I learned recently that even C-suite, senior executives, chairmans, there's a whole smorgasbord of professionals, men and women, who feel that, who experience that. And it's just insecurity. And, the more that you learn, the more that you empower yourself, you can slowly chip away at those little demons that might try to tell you that you're not worthy, or, you don't deserve success. It's okay to be scared.
Yeah.
Because pretty much everybody is, if they're really honest about it.
Yeah. And I think authenticity and being your authentic self helps in business.
100%.
Yeah. And it's okay to see the flaws. We're only human.
Yeah. Couldn't put it better myself.
And it was interesting that you spoke about the Book of Hard Things and generally looking back, because one of the things you said was looking back on your journey is empowering, because you look at where you were, where you are now, and what you've experienced. And I think that was a really good way to sit around and say, look back, because sometimes you just don't realize how far you've come before you look forward. And I think that's a really nice way to end this podcast. April, thank you so much. I can't wait to see the Sydney version. And the Adelaide version as well is so good. And yeah, I'm so glad that you're showcasing South Australia.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here with you in conversation. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Glass Ceiling. If you've liked what you heard, please subscribe, as we'd love to have you as part of our community. We're grateful to our guests for sharing their inspiring stories and insights with us, and to our sponsors in making this podcast possible. This podcast was brought to you by Wavebreaker. Join us next time as we shatter the glass ceiling, one story at a time.